Hello everyone, welcome to Stay Ahead with StayWhizzy. Today we have Arunansu Pattanayak, a leading keynote speaker in the industry of data and AI. He's been working in this industry for quite a while, for more than 20 years, working in big global companies like Citibank and also EY. So thank you, Arunansu, for being here. And we were just having a chat on the fractional CTO. We can see fractional CTO over here. So what does that mean, Arunansu?
Yeah, thanks, Satvik. Thanks for inviting me. Yeah, so for a full-time job, I'm currently a technical specialist at Microsoft. So as a technical specialist, I am an advisor to my customers. So I align with their business leaders and understand what their business strategy is, and provide them a guideline on how they can use technology, especially Microsoft technology, to gain their business objectives. So if you think of it, that's kind of a CTO advisory type of role. So while I was doing that, a lot of smaller companies outside of what is assigned to me at Microsoft, they started reaching out to me and saying, we could use your advice, but I couldn't really serve them,
As a
within the
full-time
Microsoft
CTO.
structure because we have a rigid structure. I'm in the financial services. There are a set of accounts that are assigned. I can't just take up any account from other verticals, right? So I said, okay, I will use my free time to give you the consulting. These are smaller and startup type of companies who need a CTO, but they can't really afford a full-time CTO.
Exactly.
Right? And at the same time, I am a full-time employee, so I can't really be working full-time anywhere else. So a fractional model works where I advise multiple companies in multiple ways, and I'm partnered with a lot of delivery firms, staffing firms who have people on bench who can just do white level development, any app development, cloud modernization, things like that. So I listen to what their requirements are. I kind of create a blueprint of how they can achieve their objective. Then we break up into different tasks, and it's up to them whether they want to
It's like a
hire
guide over there, right?
or they can just outsource the whole thing, and I can help them with both parts of it.
hmm Actually, we have been influenced by a lot of AI companies also. This is also an AI company, Podcast.ai. So the advent of AI, we are seeing a lot of startups, like especially in Y Combinator is funding a lot of startups which are
Yeah,
going ahead with AI. So I think there's a lot of requirement for that. And you're right,
yes,
like everybody cannot afford a CTO. Right.
yeah, exactly.
Exactly. And at your level, like person like you, it's very difficult to find. Right.
Yeah, yeah. So when people are technical, they tend to kind of do the technical decisioning themselves. But if there is a non-technical person who
Which happens
has an
quite
idea
frequently. Yeah.
but does not really have the technical background to understand, okay, what should I be using for this? If I go hire people, how do I know who is good, who is not? If I have to outsource it to another company, how do I know this company can actually deliver? That's when they need a CTO, someone with a technical background who can listen to them and uh, be their voice with vendors or other employees and kind of make sure the work gets done with the right technical specification, right?
Exactly.
So that's the role that I fill, outside of my regular job at Microsoft.
So we'll come on that, Nanshu. What is your like regular full-time role in Microsoft? Like you've been in Microsoft for quite a while.
Yeah, yeah. So I joined as a cloud solution architect. So,
Okay.
and then it got transitioned into technical specialist. So these, names can be confusing, but I think a generic name for that is a sales engineer. So we are
Okay.
part of the sales team, or like we call it customer success team. Our goal is to align with customer objective and make them successful in what they are trying to do. So as an architect or technical specialist, so I listen to their business requirement. I create an architecture blueprint saying, okay, you have a legacy application and there are these challenges with the application. If you were to modernize this application and, so your challenges, they go away and it opens up new business opportunity. Here is how I would re-architect this to those goals. And of course, as I architect, I use most of Microsoft product, and and if customer agrees to that, then they implement it, and they achieve their objective, and that helps Microsoft, that it's Microsoft products that's being sold, and customer is also happy that they are now more modern, and they have a new technology infrastructure that can achieve their business objective better than what they used to have. So
Yeah,
it's an advisory role, both what I do at Microsoft and what I
and
do as a
what we're
customer.
doing here.
Pretty much the
Exactly.
same thing. They are just an extension of each other.
Mhm. So actually, let's go a little bit back, like how Microsoft happened. And you actually, I saw like so many companies have worked at, like EY,
Yeah,
Citibank, Merrill Lynch.
yeah,
So how did you do this transition? Because
yeah.
you were in IT Bombay.
Yeah. So, I graduated from IIT Bombay in
Mm.
'99. We actually had our Silver Jubilee reunion. So, I was in
Okay.
India in December for
Mhm.
that Silver Jubilee reunion. So, it's been 25 years since
Yeah.
I graduated, and 25 years I'm in the US. So, right after my graduation at IIT Bombay, I got a scholarship to come to
Mhm.
US to do my master's.
Mhm.
So, I came to US in '99,
Mhm.
and around 2003, I wrapped up my studies. I was in a PhD program, moved to masters. uh,
Mhm.
After graduating, like around that time, I think the 9/11 was just happening. The economy
Mhm.
was really bad, and I was in a hardware background. Like my bachelor's was in engineering physics, which is a
Mhm.
combination of electrical engineering and physics. My master's was in electrical engineering, which is a
Mhm.
combination of like hardware engineering plus software.
Mhm.
But because of the economic downturn after 9/11, most of
Mhm.
the hardware companies, like you know Intel was a big recruiter
Mhm.
for our department at University of Cincinnati in electrical engineering. But that particular year, Intel had hiring freeze.
Couldn't happen.
They did not hire anyone. But around
Mhm.
that time, software was booming, right?
Mhm.
And in software, uh, you as a new graduate, you have that catch 22 situation, that
Mhm.
in order to get a job, you need experience, and in order to get experience, you need a job,
You need,
right?
yeah,
uh,
it's like a circle.
Around that time, Microsoft came out with this .NET technology, and it was a
Okay.
brand new technology. And
Mhm.
I was doing a webmaster certification on the side of my
Mhm.
master's. That's what I learned, the web development and all the new technology, and I kind of taught myself .NET. And it was just lucky that when I started applying for job, I started applying as a .NET developer, and it
Okay.
put me at par with everybody else, because .NET was only 1 year old. So
Mhm.
anybody who applies for the job, they're all 1 year old, even though they might have been in
Software was
development,
new.
have been
Exactly.
doing C++ for 10 years, but in
Mhm.
.NET, everybody has only 1 year experience, and so do
Mhm.
I. So it was easy for me to get a job as a .NET developer. My
Mhm.
first consulting job was to convert a Java web app into .NET. It was a CRM app. That's how
Mhm.
I got started, and then I just kept upgrading my skill set.
Mhm.
The new whatever new .NET framework came out, I kept learning, and I just moved from one company to another, doing consulting work. That's why you see a lot of those companies listed.
Yeah.
Microsoft is probably the company where I've been at longest, right?
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
this is kind of a longer full time job, whereas most of my other jobs were kind of like
Mhm.
consulting jobs. So consulting contracts, they last at the
Mhm.
most 1 or 2 years, like not more than that, right?
Mhm.
Beyond that, like they have to think, if you have to keep someone for 3 4 years, is this
Mhm.
really a contract? You might have to convert them to full time. So that's
Yeah.
why you see so many companies, because they were all consulting contract jobs.
Mhm. Understood. So actually, like you were upgrading yourself quite
Yeah.
frequently,
So
right?
yeah, and in consulting, that's what it is. Like you have to
Mhm.
always be on the cutting edge. You have to
Mhm.
kind of work on a technology that where the
Mhm.
billing is highest, and the
Mhm.
billing is always highest on the latest technology. So if you are
Mhm.
in .NET, like
Mhm.
the WCF, WPF came out, right? Then the
Mhm.
Silverlight came out, right?
Mhm.
If you know that, then the billing rate is higher there.
Mhm.
Technologies matures and saturates very quickly, right? There was a time when HTML developers were getting paid, hundreds of dollars per hour. Now, people won't. $10 per hour for HTML developer, right? Same thing with any technology. So if it's a brand new technology, you kind of have to ride that wave while it's considered the latest and greatest. So there are not many people in the market, so the billing rate is higher. So that's what I kept learning the latest technology, and around I think 2008, the technology started to mature, and there was not much .NET, Java. They were all kind of becoming the same. But around that time, the big data technology came, the Hadoops, right? That was a game changer, and now everybody wanted to do big data, and big data had the highest billing, right? So again, I kept learning. The Cloudera and Hortonwork, Hadoop tech stack, and I trained myself to be a big data engineer, right? And there was a company, Booz Allen, who is very well known for government contracting in US. They had me to build one of the fin crime solution that they were working on. It's an anti-money laundering solution that they were working on, and that's why I started using the big data technology to build that solution. Along the way, I realized, how big is of a market it is for anti-money laundering. Big
Hmm.
banks find billions of dollars for not meeting the anti-money laundering requirement.
Okay, can we talk about this anti-money laundry? What is this, Anvanshu?
Yeah.
What
So,
is that?
anti-money laundering is a regulation in the US, and I think it's
Mm-hmm.
worldwide,
Mm-hmm.
that it's a requirement on financial services to
Mm-hmm.
do their due diligence to
Mm-hmm.
ensure that their customers are not using the money to do any kind of fraud, terrorist activity, or any kind of human trafficking. So in any of those big crimes,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because the way to stop crime is to stop it at the financial source, right? You can try to catch people, but then more people will come. But if you
Mm-hmm.
stop the flow of money, that kind of kills the entire market, right? That's
Exactly.
the idea. And with that idea, governments have created this regulation that if
Mm-hmm.
financial companies do their due diligence and stop the flow of money, then all these crimes can disappear. So there are
Okay.
rules like, you cannot do a transaction more than $10,000 in the US. If anything
Okay.
more than $10,000, you have to give a written, you have to probably go to a branch and give an explanation why do you need to move that much money, right? So there has to be legitimate reason for it.
All
So
right.
otherwise you start to suspect, why do you need to pay this much cash, right? So
Mm-hmm.
so that money trail needs to be accounted for. And
Mm-hmm.
companies, like when somebody opens an account, the banks need to do a due diligence, do that's called a customer due diligence, or CDD, that they need to validate that this customer is a legit customer who
Mm-hmm.
does not have ties to any kind of fraud. Or people might use a fake name to open an account where, for the purpose of doing fraud or doing money laundering, right? So they
Yeah.
have to do due diligence to make sure that the person is who they say they are. They have to check their background to make sure that they don't have link to any terrorist group or any kind of fraudulent activity in the past, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that burden is on the bank, right? And it's not just people. It could be like company, big company could create another shell company for the
Mm-hmm.
purpose of laundering money,
Money
right?
laundering. Exactly.
So they have to track those companies, not only look at that company, who
Mm-hmm.
owns that company, right?
Okay.
And whoever owns that company, who are the people on the board of that company? What other company do they
Mm-hmm.
own? They have to track that entire trail. And if you can think about it, it's a very complex investigation. And this is where
Mm-hmm.
technology can help, and this is where big data can help. You can, using big data, you can mine the internet, get
Mm-hmm.
all the social media data, and using that, you correlate that to whatever information the customer provided on your application, and you can find out more about the people by researching the internet. And the government also publishes some watch list of known people who are known offender, so you can check against those watch lists and know
Mm-hmm.
that is this person likely to commit fraud.
Legitimate or not?
And there is a big market for creating software tools that
Mhm.
can do that investigation faster, because so many
Mhm.
people create account, there are so many transactions happen, you can't
Mhm.
possibly investigate everything manually.
Mhm.
So you have to take the help of a system, a computerized tool that can do all this, and this is where
Mhm.
AI can help, right?
Mhm. Coming on
Because
AI, and Anshu, like actually, what I can see is that you actually envision the transition of
yeah,
technologies, like
yeah.
how it is changing, and being at Microsoft and almost being at the forefront of it, right?
Mhm.
So, how do you think the transition of AI, which is happening currently, we are actually living into it, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah. I
companies
mean,
are using AI so much, so much, and so many companies are on a daily basis. If we see,
yeah,
it's like a
exactly.
bubble.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
what do you
yeah.
think about that?
Yeah, I mean, AI is nothing new. I mean, AI has been around since the 70s, right? There
Mhm.
was this idea of a Turing machine,
Mhm.
the Turing test to detect whether you're talking to a machine or a human. So, this
Mhm.
idea of creating a machine
Mhm.
that can think and act like human, that has
Mhm.
always been there. What's different now is
Mhm.
that with ChatGPT, we
Yeah.
call ChatGPT the iPhone moment for AI. So
Yeah,
it's not
exactly.
that AI didn't exist before, AI was there. But
Mm,
after ChatGPT, it was the first time that
mm,
average people felt like they could use AI
mm,
and get value out of it on a daily life. So,
mhm,
ChatGPT made uh, people realize that it's now AI is ready for consumerization, right?
mhm.
So that is why now you see AI is getting infused into every
Most
part
everything.
of the process. So
Exactly.
Microsoft is now big on Copilot. Just about
Mhm.
every Microsoft application now has a
Okay.
companion application called Copilot.
Mhm.
So people are just working alongside Copilot for everything. Developers are using GitHub Copilot to help them develop. And I'm hearing from our Microsoft engineer that 95% of their code is now getting written by Copilot, and they are just reviewing the code and making some minor tweaks. Uh,
Mhm.
you know, me being in sales, we are using Sales Copilot to transcribe, customer conversation and decide what should be our next game plan. How do we strategize this account, and what should be our next step, right?
Mhm.
And besides that, the general things like people generating blogs and PowerPoint presentation, email, that has been there right from ChatGPT.
Yeah, just like what you were saying, that almost 95% code is being written by Copilot. So there are two perspectives over here. One is
Yeah.
that people think that jobs might get, taken by AI, and one is that your job might get better using AI. Right? You can improve your
Yeah.
work. So where do
Yeah.
you stand at it?
Yeah, I think both of them are true in a way, right? So there was this, in the early days, there was this idea that you hire junior developers and, you give them a skeletal code that, hey, fill out this function. This function is supposed to take this input, take this output. You just write this function, and there is an architect who is kind of going to put all the function pieces together to build the larger application, right? I think, part of the thing about people being replaced by AI. So I don't see that junior developer who only writes one function or only writes a unit test, that is kind of going away, because Copilot can, if it's a simple function, say write a code that returns, given this returns this, Copilot can generate that code. And unit test, given a set of code with functions, Copilot can generate unit test, right? So there is not much need for developer who only do at that level. Whereas if you look at the architect, people who are at a high level, who can see end to end how an application is going to help achieve a business objective, they can now use Copilot to do work much faster and better than they used to, right? So everybody have to try and become more like an architect, not work at the low level where they're only filling out the code of a function. right? So that's what we are moving to. So you have to kind of upskill yourself to be able to work at a more high level than just write code to do one thing. So a lot of the code camps used to be write this function that kind of given this array, how do you sort it, how do you find the minimum one, how do you find duplicates, all those
Those things
technical
will be done by AI.
we used to kind of train
Yeah.
ourselves. I think they are becoming redundant because now Copilot can write those codes.
Hmm. So, looking at this, Arunanshu, what do you suggest for the students like who are currently graduating or about to graduate and who are trying to enter into the software background? They're trying to go into a software background. So, what do you
Yeah,
suggest like for the in upcoming of AI, the way we are transitioning towards it? So, what do you
yes,
think should be the skills people should have to enter into the big data market, or even try to be a data engineer over there? So,
yeah,
what do you suggest for that?
yeah. So there are two tracks. Okay,
Okay.
there is. Do you want to be a pure technical person that
Hmm.
you want to create technical product? If that's your goal, you want to be super technical to the point that you can mathematically explain why one database is better than other database, right?
Okay.
You can say mathematically why this database IO will perform better, or given the memory, why would this return the result faster, right? So you can be the person who creates the next generation of database, or
Hmm.
you could be an engineer who are creating new algorithms to create the new AI model, right? So if you want to go in the technical route, you have to go that deep, right?
Okay.
Or if you
Oh.
don't want to be pure technical, you kind of want to work like me, where you are at the interface of business and
Hmm.
technology. You have
Hmm.
to kind of learn more of the business side. I myself, after completing masters, I have an MBA, so I
Okay.
now understand the business side of it. And now with Fractional CTO, I kind of own my own business. That I'm a founder, CEO. I am everything for my company. So
Yeah, I get it.
you have to align yourself to the business and understand the business aspect of it. So
Hmm.
those days where technical people just sit down, you tell them what procedure to write, they write code. I think that's going away. You have
Hmm.
to be able to think at a high level and look at the functional part of it, how
Hmm.
business use it, what value does it generate, what is the return on investment for the customer, right? You have to be able to think at that level and talk to business users in business language what an application can do for them, right?
Hmm.
And you should be able to listen to their requirement and prototype an application
Like
that
an
can achieve
architect.
business
Exactly.
functionality. So you have
Hmm.
to work at that architect level with the business knowledge. That's
Hmm.
where those are the two streams within development, right? You either
Hmm.
work more on the business side,
Hmm.
so you understand the business, or you
Hmm.
work on the tech side where you are really deep enough into the technology that you can create the next generation of technology, the next big
Hmm.
data, you know, the next AI.
Yeah, totally makes sense. Like
Yeah,
currently, so what is the right, map towards or right guide towards the, being like an architect? Like you have been there for a long time, right?
yeah,
So what is it for a graduate like me to, go in and like think like an architect, or rather go in because a lot of businesses won't directly take consulting from you, right? So what
yeah,
is it like? What is the right roadmap for that? For,
yeah.
working like an architect?
Yeah, yeah. So, like I can use my MBA as an example. Me being, I have a lot of background in
Hmm.
technology, but I don't have a lot of background in business, right?
Yeah.
So, when you do an MBA, like the final project of an MBA is to create a pitch for a startup. So,
Okay.
like, as part of MBA, you create a startup, and then you create a pitch for what is the market value of your idea, who are your competitor, and how are you going to build your product, what do you expect as the investment, and if for the people who invest, what would be their return on investment. You have to create that entire story, and you have to present it to people as if you are making a startup pitch to your investor, right? So when you do that and that becomes part of your portfolio, people can see, hey, this guy had this idea, he built this company, right? If they buy into your idea, somebody would hire you to say, hey, I like your idea, why don't you come in and build my stuff, right? The same thing I would say for developer. Don't just like learn Python and apply for a job and say, okay, I can write this code, tell me what code you want, I will write it. That's kind of going away. So what you need to do is, as soon as you learn something, think of yourself as the business owner and start building a product, right? And you can open source it, put it on GitHub, add it to your resume. So your resume needs to include projects, not just that these many languages, right? You need to put projects. So if you are not able to, if you're new and you're not able to get a job, you start your own project. Most colleges, they have a project that you need to do as a collaboratively. Even if not, if you are someone who learned technology on your own, you build your project on your own, on an idea that you see, what people are doing. Right, you can go to Kaggle and see all types of data science projects that they have open, right?
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you're a scientist, go to Kaggle and
There's so many
start
competitions are having on Kaggle. Like,
science projects and
yeah.
win one of the competition. That's a good way to build a strong portfolio that people would hire you for data scientists, right? Because they have seen what you have done, right? So that's where the market is moving. That you can't just do something, get a certification, and say I know this. You have to demonstrate. You have to build a portfolio saying not only that you know this,
I've been doing
based,
this.
oh, this is what I have built. If you hire me, I can do this even better with a bigger funding and a more long-term support.
Yeah, yeah, totally makes sense. Totally makes sense. Moving ahead from this, Nansu, like I've seen that you've led a lot of teams, and also you've been in leadership positions a lot. So, what is your philosophy for leadership? Like, how do you take it? Because you've been in a lot of roles for that, and
Yeah,
I think you've been a lot of times you've been speaker also. So,
yeah,
how do you
yeah.
take on that?
Yeah. I mean, I have been an employee, I have been a tech lead, as we call it, and I have been kind of like a project manager, delivery manager. Like as a fractional CTO, I am delivery manager for my customer, right? So it's always like, when you are a kid, and you grow up, you want to be the dad that you wanted as a kid, right?
Exactly.
When you are an employee and you become a leader, you want to be the leader that you wish you had, right? And one of my pet peeves about managers is that I hate micromanagement. I don't like when people tell me exactly what to do, because it's kind of like, why would you hire smart people and tell them what to do? That's kind of redundant. It's counterintuitive, right? They are smart people, they can figure it out, right? So I believe in giving high level objective, right? That as a team, let's say we are a sales team. As a team, our objective is to grow Microsoft footprint within these business vertical, right? So if I'm leading a team, I tell people this is our objective. We are trying to hit this target. Now, these are some of the tools that you can use to leverage this. So the tools can be the POCs, the demos, the slide decks, or talk. Like if you want to be a speaker like me, I can coach how to speak at big conferences, right? And use these tools, and then be innovative and think what you need to align their priorities, what they need to do. Somebody prefers to work from home, right? Or somebody wants to travel. So within the budget that you have, give people the tools that they need, and give them a guideline of what they need to achieve, and what are kind of things that might get them in trouble. So these are things that are not okay. Rest is open game. So go and achieve. So as a leader, there are three things we do for people. We are model, coach, and care. Right? That's the Microsoft leadership principle that every manager at Microsoft, that's what they do. They're model, coach, and care. So as a model, I am a role model for the people I manage. Right? Everybody who works with me, they should want to be like me. Right? The coach is like, if somebody lacks something, there are people who reach out to me. I'm trying to break into this field. What do I do? So I'm a coach. So there is this company that listed me as top 100 data coach in the US. Right? So I'm a coach for people who are trying to break into this field. Right? So I them how to be a better speaker, how to be a better data engineer, how to be a better architect, right? And care. And sometimes when people are feeling down, or they are disappointed with something, you have to be a listener, and you have to let them know that you care, so they feel confident that they can open up to you and talk to you about things,
Hmm.
and to find the right resolution for them, right? And I think those are the principle of great leadership. That's what I had gotten when I was in a play, and that's what I am trying to do for people who I lead.
I think you've been at all the roles, so you have a better, insight of
Yeah,
it. Like
yeah, exactly.
how, yeah, 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 how to correctly do it your way.
Yeah,
Like you've been seen it, for a long time. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, exactly. So actually, this is an interesting part of the podcast. So here we'll be asking some quick questions.
Okay.
So yeah, so basically, to anyone in their twenties, right? Which
Yeah.
book are you going to recommend? Which comes to your first mind? Like,
I would say like How to Win Friends and Influence People. That was one of the first book I
yeah.
read straight out of college.
Dale Carnegie, yeah.
Because we get so caught up in
Hmm.
studies when we are a student that we think all about books, how to gain more knowledge, how to acquire more information. But
Hmm.
as you grow up and you enter the business field,
Hmm.
you realize that business is more about people than knowledge. You come to a field and you see there are people who got worse grade than you, people from worse school than you, and they are at
Exactly.
higher position than you. So what are they doing that you are not doing? And it's all about people connection, because in a corporate culture, people promote they like. So you
Yeah.
have to be able to connect with them and gain their confidence, and that's how you climb the corporate ladder. So it's that people skill. With AI now, a lot of the things can be done. So then, who gets the promotion if AI is doing the work? It's all
Everybody has
about
the same
people.
leverage.
Yeah, it's the people who are able to convince people to do things that they wouldn't do otherwise. And that's,
Hmm.
as a speaker, that's the goal of every speech, is that a speech is supposed to change people's mind to think differently. So you have
Exactly.
to be an influencer. I'm trying to be like a social media influencer. So how influential you are,
Hmm.
that's now the biggest currency now, right?
Hmm.
That's why people are so crazy about social media follower, because
Hmm.
everybody is trying to become an influencer, right? So I think those are the skills going forward that's going to be more valuable. So I
Hmm.
would say, as early as you can, gain more people skill,
Hmm.
gain more communication skill, how
Hmm.
to win over people, how to convince people. That's going to be added value. Of course, when you're a student, hey, you have exams, you try to learn, but these are things that you need to keep in your mind, that socialization is not just having fun.
Hmm.
There is, as you grow up, the networking, the contacts that you build, they
Hmm.
are the ones who are going to help you
Exactly.
grow. So you need
Network
to
is the net worth right now, what I feel.
exactly.
Yeah. So, second one can be very interesting for you. Like, you've been in tech for almost 20 years. So,
Yeah.
if not tech, then what?
If I mean, coming from India, you might have known
Yeah,
there were really, two tracks for us.
exactly.
If you're a good student,
Medical
either
or
you go into medical field or you go into engineering field. And I was not that good in biology. I was better at math, so of course I picked the engineering track. But yeah, I mean, outside of the technology, as a hobby, the speaking thing kind of came to me as part of, uh, my early hobby, that I was always interested in drama. I was interested in theater performance. So I feel like when I'm a speaker, I'm not just speaking about things, I'm also performing, right? People are coming to see a performance, and that's what kind of makes a speech impressive. So I was always interested in acting. So that was one of the reasons why I picked Mumbai for my school, because there is Bollywood there, right? So
oh,
I think, if I wasn't a in technology, I would have been in the entertainment industry. I like, like the kind of, so you are producing. I also plan to produce my own podcast. I already have my YouTube channel. I create short reels on
is
Instagram.
there?
So that's one of my hobbies. So if I wasn't doing technology, I would have been in that entertainment industry, just producing entertaining and yet educational content that people enjoy, as well as find value in the information.
Maybe who knows? Like probably in future you will be in that industry.
Yeah, and now it's like those two things are merging,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It's not enough that you are technically good. You have to be presentable, that you have to be entertaining, and that's how you become influential, right?
Exactly.
That's the age we are living in. Those are the people who are given more importance now, right? So that's a very good skill. And it also happens to be my hobby, so I'm kind of honing into that more and more as I grow within my field.
Actually, like I've also been noticing this, like a lot of tech founders for the startups, they have started creating content for themselves. Like
Yeah,
they have started
yeah,
entering the industry because they know if they
yeah,
don't create content, it's
yeah.
difficult, like difficult market to break in, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's
It's again, business is about people, right? So that's why building a personal brand is so important today, because people no longer just want to buy the product for the sake of it. They
yeah,
also want to understand who is the person behind it, what's their story, do they connect to that person, right? And people believe in the product when they believe in the person behind it, right? That's why having that personal brand, that's why having that connection with people important, right? And how you dress, how you speak, what you talk about, how you relate to it, it's all part of the personal brand. And that's the next big thing. That's what's going to make and break the next big company. And that's why there is so much emphasis on building personal brand today. And that's
exactly.
what
Like
I'm doing: social media and podcast, everything.
yeah, that makes sense a lot. Like one more thing is here, Ananshi. Like looking at your career, looking at your growth, I'm very sure that you're too much productive, right? Yeah, you know what you're doing. So, what's your best productivity hack? Like, how do you manage your time? How do you get your best out of yourself?
Yeah, I mean, it's like planning, right? In software, when you develop software, we always say that planning and designing, if done right, could cut down your development time by 1/10, right? You could save a lot of time. If you just, instead of starting to code, you think at the high level, this is the requirement, how do I design it, how do I break it down into component, and then break it down into each function, right? So if you do a good planning, then actual execution is going to go smooth, and you're going to spend less time doing the wrong thing that you might have to correct again. So you're wasting less time, right? And the same thing is true for everything, right? Days before, weeks before, I plan my calendar. I think about what am I trying to achieve this year? What am I trying to achieve this month? What am I trying to achieve today? Based on that, I plan my calendar from starting from the time when I work to each hour, each every minute, I kind of plan it ahead of time, so that on the day I'm just executing, right? So like every day towards the end of the day, it's like my planning time. I plan the next day, the night before, and I just execute it. So because everything is planned out, I don't have to, on the day, I don't have to think, should I do this now? Should I do that? I end up starting something, then I scrap it and do so. Like that does not happen with me, because I have planned it, I have put a structure around it, and I go with the plan. So I am always doing things that is producing, that is taking me to the next level. I'm never wasting time doing things that I shouldn't be doing.
Basically, this I can get like a ship without a rudder, like just can go
Yeah,
anywhere. You don't have a
yeah,
control for that.
yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
So basically, you know what's coming. You already know that this is what
Yeah.
I should be doing. Right.
Yes,
Exactly. Exactly. That's amazing
yes,
because it's quite relevant for people like us and actually the youngsters, who
yeah,
are, because we are so confused. Like we think like, okay, this is more important, this is more important. Like, where should I invest more time? Right.
yeah.
So
And
basically,
you
they
are
are
doing
like,
something, and something else comes
yeah,
along, and
exactly.
suddenly you are like, okay, I was going to do this, but leave this now. I'm going doing
Yeah.
that, right? So
Sometimes,
you have to have a
exactly.
framework in mind. When something comes along, how do you evaluate? Is that thing more important than what you are doing today? Right? You have to have that framework in mind, and you should be able to use that to decide on the spot, do I say no to this or do I go ahead with it? Right? And if you don't have that decision framework ready in your mind, you are going to be confused, and you're going to be just floating around without a clear direction.
Exactly, exactly right. That's so true. So I think with that, Ananshu, we'll try to wrap this up. And it was just an amazing discussion with you. Like I learned a lot of things, and I think our audience will also get a lot of value from this discussion. Right? It was just pleasant talking to you. Right. So thank you for the show.